And looks like we are live. Because we're a classy show. Reputable Rides is in the house. Alex is really enjoying the jazzy flavor. Oh yeah. I think sounds like it's coming up to the end, guys. Let's wait till everybody pops in the show. Got 7 viewers right now. All right, welcome. So today we have Alex in the house.
Hi, everybody.
I could not come up with a better track. Not musically inclined. Many of you guys don't know. I used to DJ. So I left that, say never quit your day job. So yeah, that was, Alex, how you doing today, man?
Hey, pretty good. Actually pumped up. I got a lot of things that I want to talk about with everybody. And, just chill weekend and can't wait for tomorrow to jump into everything.
Start all over again. Yeah, absolutely.
Hell yeah.
It's the same way here. Looking forward to our Mondays. We got a busy day. We had a lot of folks come through since the last live, since the last Friday video from last Friday. That was a pretty good video. Thank you guys for all the likes and all the comments and stuff. I try to respond to each and every one of you guys, but it doesn't always work out. But definitely, certainly appreciate you guys taking care of business and watching our videos and hopefully benefiting from those. As you guys know, this is a live call-in show. Let's see if the volume's good. And we cover all sorts of information about the trucking industry. We are a truck dispatch service and a lease on outfit for owner operators who like to lease on under other people's MC authorities and run. So we offer those services. But number one, these shows are designed for you to guys be able to call in, to ask questions, to send those in, for us to cover some news, for us to cover some of the changes in the industry. Today is a little bit special because Alex has some things that he's been working on for a little while, kind of putting together some information that he wanted to discuss that he and I discussed it prior to the show. And this is going to be pivotal for you guys. It's going to be very informative, very helpful to you guys and in your inside game to be able to get, on the right track. And you might have gotten an idea of what the show's about from the thumbnail in our video. So hopefully you guys got a chance to take a look at that. Thank you guys for all the viewers. Please, for those of you guys who are in here, smash the like button. Let's get this video out there. Let's get more of the stuff and the notifications on people's phones. Let's get them all logged in and rock and rolling. So yeah, let's jump in. So Alex is doing good. He's had a wild weekend from my understanding. And
yeah. That actually definitely was a good weekend and had a lot of fun. I'm generally just spending time with my wife mostly, but we had a very, very good time.
That's fantastic.
Good afternoon, man. Adam.
Hey, look at that. Adam Woods is in the house.
I wanted to ask all our viewers is, because I'm going to cover a lot of topics today, but probably as you see it from the thumbnail and also from the title, the trucker/dispatcher argument is basically if you have any questions that you might want to ask your future dispatcher, or you want to get into dispatch and you have curiosities, or maybe just want a second opinion of a dispatcher that maybe frequents a little bit more this side, always ask me. I've been pretty much on both sides, even on the recruiting slash sales side, even on the dispatch side for quite a while, and I built up quite a little bit of knowledge on both sides, and I can see both perspectives. Before I could have seen only one, but now I can see a little bit both, and I can see the dispatch side even from a third person view,
Hmm.
and I can explain things a little bit better.
Yeah, absolutely. Alex is, wealth of information. This guy is very different in a sense because he worked on both sides of both. On three sides actually. He worked on the recruiting side. He worked directly in dispatch, and he has also been working with me with the dispatch side on trying to get more customers, take care of the customers that we do have, customer retention, things like that. So, I used to handle all these things, and then, I just couldn't do it anymore. And we asked Alex to join in. I'm really glad that he agreed and kind of went through this period of learning, and at this point, he's irreplaceable, indispensable. But because whenever he's gone, those are the crazy days when I'm, tearing out the remaining hair out of my head. So, so that's what we got going on here. Let me see.
So yeah. So I have a main subject that I want to talk, but I want to let a little bit people gather up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Meanwhile, everybody, if you have questions, curiosities, whatever it is, doesn't matter how the question sounds, ask away. It's not a problem. In
Yeah,
the meanwhile,
absolutely.
I wanted to talk with you a little bit about some smaller subjects that I prepared more recently that wanted to resonate a little bit with you.
Elisa
Hey,
Galvaris.
Alyssa. Yeah, I'm really missing working with you, Alyssa, and I can't wait for you guys to get back.
Likewise, Elisa, this is awesome. That's cool to see your name pop up. I love seeing the names that at least I recognize, and I'm like, oh, that's a customer. That's a past customer. That's a guy I was talking to, and I know your stories, and I know small business is awesome because you guys have family. Lisa is a great example of families and people that rely on you, depend on you, and take care. And it just greatly warms our heart to know that we're helping you guys do better. Alex, I apologize. I cut you off.
No, no worries at all. So Adam was asking here, do or can you guys dispatch Canadian carriers heading back north to Canada after living in the USA? I'll let you explain a little bit this one better because you can formulate a little bit better why
Sure,
not
absolutely.
and why exactly it is.
Yeah, I'll jump in. And Lord Kevin, thank you for stopping by again. You are like one of our most consistent guys. Thank you so much. And the number of viewers is definitely adding up. So to answer Adam's question, yes and no. I know we love those responses, right? So here's the thing: we used to dispatch with every time I want to say great success, I'm thinking Borat. But we used to dispatch with great success Canadian carriers. We could dispatch you guys in Canada. We could dispatch you guys within the United States. It wasn't a problem. The problem happened several years ago when the primary load boards in the United States started to basically limit the visibility of freight that's coming from the United States. So if a dispatcher is based in the United States, we're only able to see the majority of US freight. And we just don't see Canadian freight. Now, US to Canada, sure, but there's just not enough to come around to make it worthwhile, especially if you have a regular Canadian authority where you're not allowed to travel from place to place in the United States. It makes it, almost impossible to book you because you might get a good deal coming out to, pick a city, and then maybe you won't have another load that's going to work for you. Let's say the next one's going to be 300 miles away or 400 miles away. That's going up. Now, I know you guys are not going to have any problem even deadheading 300 or 400 miles for the right deal to come home. It's totally different with Canadian carriers. I totally get it. The problem is you're not allowed by law, right? Now, a lot of people say, I don't care. They travel where they want to, but you do realize that you could get pulled in. They could, verify your documentation, paperwork, and all this other stuff. So you're putting yourself at risk. And the way that the laws are written, it makes it extremely difficult for you to be efficient, especially considering we don't see the majority of the freight, and you're not allowed to move around to a better location in order to improve your chances of getting the load to get you back home. So this is the reason why we actually stopped on that, because I just don't feel that we bring enough value. We bring nowhere near the amount of value we used to be able to be able to help you guys out. We had customers, we had reefer dry van customers that were Canadian carriers, and we were able to run them very efficiently. We loved it because the money was fantastic, and we get our percentage off of that. So the gross was great, everybody was happy. But that has changed several years ago, and so that makes it impossible. I would highly recommend finding a Canadian dispatcher, someone's actually based in Canada. And no, VPNs don't help. So if we try to do a VPN out of Canada or something like that, it doesn't fool the system.
I think we tried it years and years ago when this thing changed, if I remember correctly.
That's absolutely correct. So I wouldn't do that. Now, what you can do, and this will make you the 1% carrier, to be honest with you. You're going to have to go through, hell and high water to achieve this, mainly on the Canadian side, but also on the US side. But you can get what's called a dual authority. So you have full authority in Canada, you have full authority in the United States. This allows you to move around. This allows you to make more money. This allows you to take advantage of the exchange rate. You can move around within the states. You can stay within the United States, operate here as if you're a U.S. carrier, but it's going to take a lot of documentation, a lot of background stuff. You're going to have a W-9, the ability to issue a W-9 and actually have an FEIN number. So there is a lot, and most people don't go into it, but I highly recommend it. You would actually be in better shoes than any American carrier. In the United States, not just North America, but in the United States, you'd be in better shoes. And maybe one of these days, the freight's going to pick up like it used to be back in the day. Like 10 to 15 years ago, Canada was amazing. You could take a load out there, just cross the border for $15,000, turn around, come back around empty. You didn't care. Go to North Dakota, pick up some lumber or something, bring it down, and it didn't even matter. You could just come back empty because you were paying amazing amount of money. And now the kind of money that it used to pay to Canada now basically pays to Alaska, and most people don't go to Alaska. So although we have run into some tough guys out there. So I hope that answers your question. Unfortunately, I just don't think we're bringing enough value to make it worthwhile for you. It drives the dispatchers insane, and you will find someone, even if they're a weaker dispatcher and they're not as good as negotiating and all these other things, they're still going to be in a better position than unfortunately we will be. And so I don't recommend it. I certainly don't recommend it.
Yeah, because plus the other thing is that we never chase a business that would be beneficial only for us or only for you. We're trying to find a middle way that everybody has. Like we're trying to chase basically a win-win situation.
100%.
Like there's a lot of times that I call people that send in their information to find out more about our service and everything, and it happens sometimes. Actually, last week it happened quite a bunch of times.
Mm-hmm.
Glad to hear it because that means some truckers are doing good. Basically, that they were doing fine, and there's pretty much nothing that could help them further. Like they were doing more or less same numbers as us, and there was no point in, disturbing what they already had. So I told them, look, there's no point in doing something right now. We'll remain in touch and everything, but we'll keep it like that for now because you're doing fine.
My mouse died, so I apologize for the noise.
That's all right. That's all right.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, and that's one of the things. I'm glad you brought that up, Alex, because here's the thing, and this is something I should talk about more. There have been many instances of this where I have talked to people, and we ended up with me just basically saying, look, I feel so good. I feel blessed in a sense because I don't have to lie to you guys. I don't have to chase after you guys. And we're well past that point. This is the reason why you won't find any sort of like hidden clauses in our agreements and things like that say that, you have to work with us. There's a certain amount of time and blah, 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 and all this other stuff. Because the way I feel is that if I can't work with you and you can't work with me or my guys, and there's a problem, or there's not enough value, there's some sort of other issues, then, I shouldn't, it's not going to benefit me to put a gun next to your head and force you contractually to be obligated to work with me. Because what kind of relationship is that really? And what am I going to get? A little bit of money? Even if it's a lot of money, who cares? That's not going to actually do anything, right? So I would rather work with people who. That's why I always talk to Alex about this. We're constantly doing. I don't want to call them trainings, but maybe reminders that Alex, we're an established dispatch company. We're a very transparent leasing company. We do things honestly, and we don't need to sell anyone on anything. Because if I sell you on something, I could be a really good salesperson, but you might have buyer's remorse. And you're going to jump out and not like that idea. However, if you and I talk and you come to terms that, you know what, I think what he's saying makes sense. I do agree with it, and I think this is the right move, and I think this is going to benefit me. And you make that decision, then there's never any buyer's remorse. We have a good relationship, and we can move forward together and get through these difficult times. Now, if you're a new dispatch service, those guys will do anything. I've called a lot of dispatch companies out there. We've talked. Alex has done it. Other guys have done it. We've discussed it, and the way that they jump on you and the way that they keep calling and let's do this, and they'll turn themselves inside out because they're nearly out of business, and they just don't have that foundation set. So they'll say anything, they'll sell you the moon, they'll promise you everything, you know what I mean? But the truth is, if we can't work together, then there's no reason for us to be, to forcing each other to work together, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, there are other things that recently started to appear, but we'll discuss that later properly in the subject that I prepared.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm
Before
excited to hear
that,
that.
I wanted to talk about something that, let's say, in my dispatch career, popped up a lot of times. I found a very, very hard time explaining to it, but there we go. We have an incoming. You
Yes,
have to get us too?
What's that?
I'll gonna take it.
Go ahead, please. I'm going to go ahead and ignore it. There he goes. Alex is going to go and take that. Maybe that's a call-in. Maybe that's someone looking for dispatch services. But in the meantime, I'm going to jump in here. And Lord Kevin asked a good question. He said, got offered, I guess not a question, a statement. Got offered a load from Louisiana to Anchorage, Alaska. Drive and load, $9,000, too cheap. I agree with you. What are you going to bring back from there? Is your equipment set up for Alaska? And if your equipment is set up for Alaska, you should be taking a premium for that. This is the reason why I keep telling you guys, vent your vans, right? There's a time and a place for that. There's a season for that. You could take advantage. We're already seeing those loads. Those are the high-paying loads. Those make the difference for you. And venting your van is super inexpensive and very, very easy to work with. So you can do that. If you have any sort of special equipment, if your equipment has that from Los Angeles, that's insane. From Los Angeles all the way over there. Not that maybe Louisiana. Yeah, but I'm not sure which one's worse, from Los Angeles or Louisiana to go to Alaska. So either way, I think it's not enough money. I think it's a little bit pricey. Not pricey enough. It's just not enough money on that end to be able to, kind of make that worthwhile. Let's see, got a message here. I believe Alex is sending me here. Okay, so we got Miguel. He called in here, and Adam Woods. I'll definitely get to you as well. Alex, go ahead and send over Miguel. Let's chat. You guys use the DAT equivalent in Canada, load link. Yeah, that's right. That's absolutely right. Let's take a look here. This is Vitaly. Is this Miguel?
Yeah, hi, Vitaly. This is Miguel. How are you?
Good. How are you, man?
Good. Thank you. I'm a small carrier based out of California, 3 trucks, 4 trailers.
Awesome.
And I just had a question about your opinion on the DAT average here and how to respond when you quote a load and a broker tells you that you're quoting above the market average.
So you mean how to respond to that? You don't need to respond to anything. I mean, here's the thing. I just watched somebody did a video the other day where the broker was giving an awful load. It was like was a lot of miles for like for $3,800. It ended up being we never even ran the numbers on $3,800 because at $5,000 it came out to be like $187 cross country. And then they were able to raise the rate to $6,000, but the customer wanted it for $7,000. They couldn't agree on it. The call ended, and that was it. And the truth of the matter is, there's no point. A lot of these brokers have no idea what they're talking about. They're just repeating things that their people in management tell them, and they'll say. And so one of the things he kept repeating without thinking is that, well, the spot rate is $1.30. Well, the spot rate is $1.30, and he was giving them $1.87. Well, here's the thing: I don't care what the spot rate is. If my operating costs are let's say $50, and you're trying to get me to go across country for $1.30, I could do it, sure, if I have something good waiting for me. But if I got no guarantees, and why should I do this? Because we do this all the time. We know a lot of our carriers' operating costs, and we'll book loads that are less than their operating costs. So it's a losing situation. But we do that knowing that we're going to make up the difference. So that's the only time that I would even try to negotiate with them. Plus, a lot of times you can always end politely. No need to yell and scream and fight with these people. But I've had this happen so many times where I politely end the conversation and just tell them I can't do this, and then they call me back and magically find the money. I've had a broker, literally, I know we like to repeat this, but I've had a broker tell me that I'm taking food off of his table, out of his kid's mouth. And then that was also a broker that called me back. We did business. He gave me the money that I wanted, and he gave it to me. Yeah, you have to remember that depending on the type of freight, depending on what time of year and time of month it is, and a hidden part of it is we don't know how well the broker's doing. They might need to move that in order. And so a lot of times what they'll do is they will take off money off of another load that they have, knowing that they're pushing off a problem into the future, because they're going to have to sell that one now for, like, let's say 30 cents cheaper or below market rates, and they'll have to find someone to run it that way. But right now, he needs to move this load. So he's going to take that 30 cents, put it on your load. Let's say it adds up to an extra $1,000 that you need, make the deal work with you and run it. So never believe a broker that when they say, that's all I got in it. BS. Pick up a load from another one.
No,
you know what I mean? They can do it.
I agree with that. I just didn't know if the DAT average really was a viable tool to,
it is not.
Kind of go
the
off
DAT
of
average.
It is not.
Stay away. And we actually talked about this in last week's live. The reason that it's off is it's actually not the fault of truckers, it's the fault of brokers. And because if you look at the price structure of, for example, DAT, you can see that it's the brokers that are paying DAT's bills. It's the broker that's the DAT's primary customer, not the trucker. We only get charged $150 a month for a DAT live board. Brokers, they end up for a single seat paying about $600 per month per single seat. Okay. So of course they're driving the bus on that end, and that's the reason why sometimes if you get really pissed off and leave an honest review, they review your review, and then they basically say your review's we're not gonna publish it. And then you get some of these brokers who are just terrible people, but they have 4.5 stars out of 5 or something, because DAT is actively cleaning out some of these things and saying you're being mean here. This is going to lower our customers' review, our average score. And so they are backing and protecting the brokers. And so that's why they don't change this data. And it's actually on RateView, and you can look. They list the same load multiple times. You've probably seen this, right? When you book a load, say you go to like TQL or something and you book a load with them, and then all of a sudden a load board, once they book the load with you, the broker's like, hey, let me take this off because everybody's calling me. Let me just take this load off the load board. And all of a sudden you see like 6 or 7 loads just disappear for TQL on the load board, because those are all the same loads. And so the problem that happens is that if you got brokers listing the same load over and over and over and over and over again, and then when you show up, as a trucker, you're going to list your truck right where it's at, or the most nearby city, and put a radius in your search terms, 50 miles, 100 miles, 150 miles, whatever it might be. And so you got one truck, but it looks like there's 7 loads here. Oh my God, that's such a wonderful, ratio. But the truth is not the case. It's only 1-to-1, not 1-to-7. And
right,
there's no way, DAT either doesn't want to or doesn't care, or it works for them. But because of that, the data is so skewed that we should never take that information. I tell all my dispatchers, do not quote those numbers. Do not base your decisions on those numbers. Those mean nothing. Yeah, if you look at some of the crappiest states, like as far as freight, like look at New Mexico, look at, Connecticut, Maine, Rhode Island, look at those. And sometimes you will actually find that it just looks like burning red hot. It's doing so well. Like that's the place to be. But you have to dig a little bit deeper, and you realize that, well, actually, no, there's only like a handful of loads and a bunch of trucks there in the area. Everyone's trying to leave there. It's just because of the way that numbers are published, it makes it paints an erroneous picture. So I wouldn't trust any of the DAT numbers. Not useful at all. The whole industry runs by them because they have the biggest data set in the industry, but it doesn't mean that it's correct. So.
Okay, gotcha. I appreciate you telling me that. One more thing quickly before I jump off the call. Does AFT, or is it normal for a small carrier to work exclusively with freight brokers to book loads, or does AFT also work exclusively with freight brokers?
So we don't just work only with freight brokers. So we work with freight brokers. We work with freight forwarders also. And from time to time, like I have my own customers. And if that customer was to say, hey, I got this and I can't cover it or anything like that, like my own trucks cover that. But if we can't do it, then why shouldn't I be able to just, get you set up with that same, with that same company, but only if the broker, only if you're okay with it, because most likely that receivable will not be factorable. most likely because your factor won't buy it because that's not a broker, that's a customer. There's no bond, there's no protections, so they may not. So a lot of customers will say, look, man, I can't wait on this for 30 days, because no one's going to buy that. So we do have different places, and a lot of people ask me that. You guys just use the same load boards as us? 90% of the time, the answer is yes, absolutely. But the difference isn't even that. Like, who cares? If the broker gives us the rates, and if my dispatchers end up booking you in the right way, and you end up at the end of the week with more money and less expenses, if you end up constantly in the green, and you end up constantly making more money, and your work, decreases the amount of like calls and negotiations and packets and all this other stuff you got to do to book these loads, then it's obviously worthwhile. It's all worthwhile. So it doesn't matter, where the loads come from. It's all about negotiating, placing the trucks in the right place, setting yourself for changes in the market that are coming. That are changing. Things, are constantly warming up, cooling down. We try to be there a little bit early. Before the market heats up, let's get a guy over there while it's still crappy so I can get top dollar to go there. By the time he gets there, we have some stuff coming out. Money's good. We're going to get him out of there for good money. You do that a few times, you got a good week. A few more times, you got a good month. You know what I mean? And this is the reason why we have customers that stay with us for years. Just because month after month after month, they're like, okay, I'm doing less work, I'm running more efficiently, and at the end of the month, I'm making more money. So yeah, I do pay AFT quite a bit of money. I mean, we're not cheap. We're on 7%. There's companies out there do it for half the price. Although I have seen companies do it for 10, and I personally used to charge 10 back in the day. But this was before there were a lot of dispatchers out. So at the end of the day, a lot of people don't run the numbers. I have an ex-customer of ours that we will hopefully be bringing back very, very soon. This is a great example. We ran some numbers with them. They have multiple trucks, and they left to another dispatch company. It's just the way it worked out, which is fine. It happens. However, time has passed, about 6 months or so. I've been in touch with them. We've been running our numbers consistently. The difference in the rate was 2%. They were getting it at 5. We charged 7. When I ran the numbers, they were leaving well over $1,000 easily on the table every single week, literally weekly. So then it's a no-brainer. It's like, okay, yeah, you do cost me more, but you make me more money, and that makes sense. Now, if I didn't make them more money and I just cost them more money, that'd be an easy decision. Just cut us off and be done with it and go back to the old guys or do it yourself or whatever has been working for you better.
Right.
Yeah. So,
okay, sir. Well, I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, keep up the good work. Good luck. And
yeah,
thank
absolutely.
you for taking my call.
Yeah, if you ever decide you want to give it a shot or something, I usually tell guys, look, just you can always throw in one truck and then just run it and then compare it apples to apples and see what it is. Now, I don't know what kind of equipment you run or what kind of markets you might have, some specialized needs, things like that. So that may or may not work. I don't know. But if at a later time you decide you want to give it a shot, just give me or Alex a call. We can run through numbers. We can kind of compare apples to apples.
Absolutely. Okay. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
you.
Miguel.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. Alex, how's it going?
Hey, pretty good. Answering a little bit of chat.
Yeah, I noticed that your icon popped up over there. Also, there's no problem with deadheading, whenever necessary to book a return from Canada. Only rule is from Canada to USA. From USA to Canada, I'll have to inquire about the dual authority. Yeah, definitely. The dual authority is just like magic. And just your company gains so much value from that. You know what I mean? Because there's literally just like you're being a 1%er when it comes to trucking, having a dual authority. It's a pain in the ass. I promise you. You may want to retain an attorney to be able to take care of all this for you, but it's gonna be worth it because it's only about like 1% of the truckers are actually going through this. It's very, very similar on the U.S. side where we have folks who don't want to get certain permits because they got to fill out some paperwork or they have to remember some numbers and do stuff. But it's worth it because anytime there is that differentiator of you can't haul with me because you don't have a permit. It's like, hey, I have a permit, but it's going to cost you, and that's where you make up the difference. So it looks like Alex has been answering
also,
a lot of you guys.
Same for a tweak card that would help you a lot. Same for tanker endorsement that will help you a lot. There's some extra paperwork, a little bit of extra work and everything, but it's gonna pay.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, it always pays out. I mean, TSA certification also helps if you work with the right people. Of course, TSA certified loads are a little bit harder to get. We actually have a contact that works with the TSA certified,
Mm-hmm.
and they pay pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So there is a lot of money to be made with additional credentials, with additional things that you can get yourself. That's why I say a vented van. It's a cheap upgrade. Get it. It's gonna. Well, we're already seeing it. I was talking to Mike the other day, and he was like, "Look, man, it started. Vented van exclusive. It started. Don't let that stop. Don't let that stop you. So you guys can actually go out there and make that happen by making these small adjustments. Like for example, having coverage for seafood. You don't need it all year. You can always cancel that, get a rebate, get a refund. But if you have seafood coverage, you can charge a lot of money for that. And there's certain seasons where it really picks up. You can actually spend several months doing that. Adam Woods, thank you guys for being responsive. You got it, man. Thank you very much. So let's kind of jump in. I wanted to actually cover something here. Let's see if we can make this work here. So let's see. F11. All right, maybe the wrong one. All right, now let's jump in on Chrome. Get rid of this. So this is right off of Freight Waves. I was going to highlight some stuff, but I was running a little behind today, so we'll just look at it the way that it is. So Freight Waves does State of the Freight. Really good stuff. I usually wait for the information to come through later. They do a really nice analysis. You can listen and watch, and you kind of read through the synopsis of it. And what's been really interesting with this one, really cool guy, Craig Fuller, the CEO of Freight Waves. Very, very smart guy. I've been following him very closely on Twitter. We've had a few brief conversations and run-ins, as well as Luke, his right-hand man. He actually currently left to Highway, the company that does all the packets and stuff like that we all struggle with so much. And they just did their State of Freight webinar for March, and they covered a lot of different things. And some of the questions that people were asking them were about, hey, when is this market going to flip? And I'll save you guys all the trouble. They're looking at the market flipping in the second part of the year. He moved from April up to May, which I do agree. I think it's super, super important, to be on track, but at the same time, you got to remember that all sorts of things could happen. I mean, look at what just happened in Russia. That's going to have an effect on all sorts of freight. There's stuff going on with China. And I remember a few weeks ago, we made a video about the U.S.-Mexico trade. And we also made a video about the freight coming in through the Laredo, through Texas, through different ports over there, through the border. So a lot more of that is...
I'll take it.
Get rid of that there. Thank you, Alex. So they were covering a lot of the stuff. So as you guys know, Freightways has another piece of their company called Sonar. They provide detailed, fantastic information that you can use, such as these graphs here. Now, what you're seeing in this graph here, let me see if I can zoom in a little bit better. There you go. This is the rejection rate. We're always harping on a rejection rate. The higher the rejection rate, the better your rates are going to be. The lower the rejection rate, the lower your rates are going to be. It's basically works like this. There's freight and there's trucks, right? So you have supply and demand. Now what happens is it gets up to $1.50, just as an example, and the market says nope. All right, $1.60, and the market says nope. $1.70, maybe somebody took it, but still iffy. Market says nope. Then it goes up to, let's say, $1.80. Now you have a lot more people with operating costs below that. They're willing to take it. They don't like it, but they take it. So then the rejection rate goes down or remains around that, and we find ourselves a baseline. So the problem is that the baseline has been, going back a long, long time, has been very, very low, which means that truckers, both in the spot market as well as the contract market, have not been accepting, have been accepting everything that's given to them. They're not rejecting. So the rejection rate is extremely low. When the rejection rate is higher, that means that there's plenty of freight. Truckers have options. They have places to go, other places where they can get better freight. And brokers have no choice but to find ways to get more money, charge more from the customer, find it off of other other loads, figure out what they got to do in order to get that freight moved. And that's when your rejection rate is higher. As you can see, here's your 2022 rejection rate right here. You see the difference? So that was 22.5%, okay, at the peak here, going back to here. And then here, we're at 3.79, okay? So that's the difference, 3.79 versus like 22 and a half. Huge difference. That's why there was a lot of money to be made. So what they're saying is that if we look at the rejection rate at the chart, you look at where it was last year and this year, there's a tiny gap between the two. Okay, I think the question that we'll be asking Fueler is talking about is, if I'm running a supply chain, do we think it's going to trend like this, basically like last year, which is sort of an anomaly? Typically, May is when the market starts to pick up. I think it's going to be more of a normal year. There's a lot of reasons to be bullish in the second half of the year. I think it's going to look more like a typical May, sort of, in the second quarter than it was last year. So again, by the second quarter, now he put in some really cool information here in terms of. Let me make this smaller because I can't read this big. He brought up some really, really good points, you guys. He mentioned some of the things that were expected that never occurred. Some of the things that were expected to hit the market to go down, that never happened. And so the market went in a different direction than what the market makers were anticipating. So again, spring season. And this is super, super important about some of the things that will be shipped in larger quantities, about some of the things that you guys can expect. So here's what's interesting right here. The big box retailers do really well this time of year, springtime, because of the gardening and yard work that people need to do. Summer apparel is also important. Let's not forget beverages. This time of year, beverages are in hot demand. And when we get to Memorial Day, beverages will heat up. Not literally. This is always a good time for freight because it's the spring season. Okay, this was Strickland. You also know that seasonality will help increase freight demand. Excess capacity remains. So we still have way too many trucks. Okay, now, this is what we talked about in last week's video on Friday, the net change in authority. So you're going to look at current number of authorities active, new grants, so new MC authorities that were recently granted, and then we're going to look at revocations, and we're going to look at like inactivity and things like that, right? So, and you can also look at like reinstatements. So what do we see here? If we zoom in, and this is what I talked about, see that little green right there? That's the first sign of things improving. This is the first time. Look, it's all been in the red until recently. Now, this could all just crap out and go to the bottom. There's no guarantee, but this is a good sign, and we'll take what we can get because super, super important. Okay, so there's just way too many trucks, and the net authorities are finally turning in the opposite direction. Good for truckers. This is very good, but we're just so at the beginning of this. So, guys, for those of you guys in the chat, viewers, thank you guys for sticking around. Please hit the like button if you would, please. I know it doesn't take a lot, but I know that we do forget. There's a lot of videos that I watch and I just forget to do it. So I do understand, and no complaints there. But if you got a chance, please hit that like button. That'll help a ton. And if you're feeling brave, please share the link. We'll get more people to jump in. Share the link with your trucker friends, Facebook, and other social media. Let's take a look here. Oh, here we go. Just because it's going green doesn't mean that capacity is growing. We've had what I would consider a little bit of a directional shift. We've seen a little bit of a shift away from the general commodity entrance into the other kinds of modes, like oil and gas transport, things like bulk, flatbed, as well as refrigerated trucks. Again, all the same things that we just talked about in the previous several videos in the live, that flatbed and refrigerated are going to come up. There are way too many. This has been the case, way too many dry vans out there. The majority of the overfill is going to be dry vans. So there you go. Why is it good that authorities are going green? So what it is, what that one says is, you might be thinking backwards. So this is not the addition of new authorities. That would be bad. We have way too many authorities currently. What we're seeing in green is that the number of revocations, the number of closures, and the number of new MC authorities has gone down, and the number of those revocations and everything has gone up. So we're in the green because what we have is we're actually going backwards, right? So we're reducing capacity. So I know it sounds backwards, but it really is backwards. So going green is actually good because we're losing MCs. Companies are going out of business. I know it sounds heartless, but it doesn't benefit anyone to have way too many trucks in the industry, especially companies that will never be able to make it because they bought in at the peak of the market right before the bubble burst, and they're not going to make it. They're not going to be able to make it. Unfortunately, that's the case. And those are the authorities that are closing down. Now, they can come and explore at a different time, absolutely, but that's what we're actually seeing here. Okay. The next thing is GDP. We're not going to see. One of the comments that I received today was about GDP and how that's coming up and all that. The problem is that it's not going to make an effort, because what we have right now is we have a huge amount of inflation, and people were saying how I can't wait till rates come up, because once the government does rate cuts, that's going to, basically lower the interest rates on equipment and housing. Money will start to flow, and we're going to be able to hit our 2% inflation target. Now, in theory, 100% correct. The only problem is I don't believe it. And the reason I don't believe it is because I think the 2% inflation target by the Fed is just something that they feed us. I mean, they're a Fed for a reason, right? They're feeding us. You're welcome, Dwayne. Absolutely. I don't think we're ever going to, or at least in the next decade or 2 decades, we're probably not going to hit 2% inflation. They're just telling us this. Plus, you have to understand that with the level of inflation as it is, that we cannot expect rate cuts. Inflation has to slow down in order for rate cuts to be a feasible option for the Fed. Plus, the other thing is we have unemployment. So you actually need higher unemployment in order for that. So right now we have things going backwards, but we all know we live in an upside down world. So that's where we are. So that's where GDP comes in, and that's where all of that goes. Now, what's interesting is that they were saying how a lot of the money that flowed in from all of the money printing that we've had was what basically smooth things out. And I agree, but that's also what created the inflation and this whole issue with, basically funny money. But what's interesting here is that the majority of the money went into the government. So it was mainly government spending. All right. So right here, Fuller said, while consumer spending didn't completely fall off, strong consumer, we keep spending. It was government spending that helped keep the economy afloat. What is sort of harder to understand is track is a government stimulus, not to consumers' wallets, but in infrastructure programs like the Inflation Reduction Act, the CHIPS and Science Act, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law. Those things put a significant amount of government dollars into the economy. I think what happened is where we saw softness in the freight economy, those things have sort of overridden this, and it's what kept the economy going. 100%. I agree. Here's the problem. We have to remember the humanity behind all of this. We say we have a strong consumer. Americans are spending. Government is spending. The majority of the money is going into government spending that's uplifting the market and keeping things flat. Let's not forget the humanity of the situation. People are struggling to feed their families. This inflation is making it very, very difficult for people who were not doing so wonderfully in the past. Right now, they're really, really struggling. Just to feed their family, just to cover their grocery bills, to cover the gas bill, to cover rent, mortgage, insurance, unexpected expenses, emergencies. All of these things come up, and people are really living paycheck to paycheck. A recent study showed that the newer generation kids, like the Generation Z or whatever they call them, these poor guys, they're all pretty young. They're financing their groceries onto credit cards. So I use a credit card to buy practically everything, and then I just pay it off. I get some points, blah, 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 whatever. That's not what they're talking about. They're talking about putting your essential needs, your groceries onto a credit card, and then making payments on it. You're financing your hamburger. You're financing your food. That's not a way to live. That's not a way to live. And so that's why I say, let's not forget the humanity in all this, because while the American taxpayer is covering all of the expenses that are going towards the government and the federal spending, these budgets, they're basically keeping up the market, but it's just a house of cards, basically. That's ultimately what it is. Now, right now, it's also very, very, very difficult to know what's going on because it's an election year, and we're getting real, real close to finding out who's going to win or who's not. Trump said he's going to put 60% tariffs on all Chinese goods to the United States. Some people like it, some people don't. And what was interesting is this right here, this quote. You talked about what happened before when a lot of folks were trying to pre-run, bringing in a lot of products to avoid those tariffs. Okay, so before tariffs kicked in. Do we think that shippers are going to do the same this year? In the anticipation of an uncertain election season, are they going to pre-run their shipments? Or is this going to be a situation where they wait to see who ends up winning and then making those decisions later? So the idea is that Let's see who's going to be the winner of the presidential elections, and then we can go based on that and see if it's something that's going to be beneficial to shippers, to businesses. Are they going to be tax cuts or are they going to be tax hikes? And so it's a really, really tough call. And what they're talking about here is I think that China has already figured out a way through this inbound ocean 20-foot TEUs. Basically, imports from China to Mexico show up that they're up 40% compared to last year. Now, what's super important about this is that, again, we talked about there being a lot more trade from the southern border, and Mexico has recently outbid everyone else, became the number one American trade partner, right? Beat out Canada, beat out China, and not by a small margin. All right, so it's like I said here, different from 2019 trade war between the U.S. and China when everything came in through the port of California. So now what we're seeing is Texas. We're seeing more and more Texas, and so you want to be able to take advantage of that right there. Texas becoming a new California in freight transportation. Exactly. So we're having a lot of this going through, almost $800 billion in trade in 2023 with Mexico, and it says right here, Fuller and Strickland noted that Laredo, Texas, and Port Houston have benefited from Mexico's emergence as the top U.S. trading partner over the past year. Laredo is the second largest growth market in the United States, right behind Phoenix. Phoenix is getting some of that California benefit as people are pulling freight out of warehouses in California and adding them to warehouses in Phoenix. So there you go, guys. I mean, the bottom line is this. The market is shifting. We have issues with freight volume, we have issues with authorities, we have issues with the rejection rate, and truckers are they're absolutely going to have to jump in and carry their own weight in that sense. And the way you do that, I'm not saying like you guys are responsible for everyone else or anything like that. That's not the case whatsoever. But what I am saying is the following. You have to know your operating costs. Take responsibility for your business. Take accountability for your business. All right. Quit arguing with people and try to learn something from them. Like we've done this for a very, very long time. One thing that I can't stand is when people call me just to argue with me. Why? Go argue with your wife. Don't argue with me. That's fine. I'm not even going to argue with you. I'm going to try to set you straight. But after I see that that's the reason for your call, I'm done. You know what I mean? So you have to be able to know your costs. Know your operating costs. Super important, guys. You have to, because otherwise, how are you going to know if you're doing well or not doing well? If a certain move below operating costs is actually worth it because the market is hot where you're going? How much you're going to have to recover in order for that to be a profitable week or a segment of time? You cannot know any of that information unless you have your operating costs down pat. You have to. And don't think that, well, if I count my diesel and my truck payment, my trailer payment, and my insurance, that's the majority. I used to think the same way, but the truth is once you get it all down on paper, get into Excel or Google Sheets, convert it into a per mile basis, and build yourself a calculator such as some of the ones that I've showed you guys that we've used that just proprietary. I put that together years ago and it's been helping a lot of us. Our guys, my trucks, my equipment, my friends, as well as the people that have called in and we, took the time, or I've had some customers that thought they weren't making money. So I wasn't sure if that was the case. I just couldn't believe it at the rates that they were making. So I said, listen, just send me your operating costs. Send me all your expenses. We categorize them, put them in a thing, in the spreadsheet, and come up with some numbers. And turned out to be they were making excellent money. They were actually making really, really good money. But it's very important to know your operating costs and also to include and exclude certain things. Like I've had guys include their mortgage in what does that have to do with trucking? Yeah, you got to have a place to live, but that has nothing to do. That's a personal expense. You know what I mean? You're not deducting your household goods, right? Like when you go eat. You're not deducting that. When you buy groceries, you're not deducting that. Your kids' Pampers, diapers, whatever, you're not deducting that. So how is this any different? So you have to have your operating costs. They have to be down, and you have to be able to basically know what's good and not good for you. So yeah, thank you very much for everybody. Guys, I'm going to show you guys something here real quick and see if we can. That's probably not the one we want. This one. Just as a little segment, little break, guys, we are a dispatch service and a lease-on owner-operator outfit. I say this in every video. I understand that a lot of opportunities out there, a lot of different companies out there, a lot of different structures out there, and to each their own. I'm completely fine with that. However, don't rest on your laurels and say, well, the market sucks. I get a lot of calls from dispatchers. These guys can't operate, can't do this. Again, no replacement for experience. There's a lot of dispatchers. When I started in this business, you could count us on one hand. Now, you'd run out of hands. But the problem is that when you have a ginormous influx of new dispatchers entering the market during the hottest period over the last decade, and they're just taking money left and right. I have customers who've gone through that period, or I've had customers, some of these guys went out of business, where the dispatcher was only making a small amount more, and it wasn't because of their skill set, but because the market was a lot. They didn't have to negotiate. So there's just free money for them. They're taking a percentage from you, and they're not doing anything. Handling packets and paperwork and calling insurance companies is not worth that percentage. What dispatch is about, like let's say we offered a dispatch service where it was just went against all the rules. You guys handle your own packets. You guys do the setup documents. You call the insurance company. You handle the billing and invoicing. You handle all that, and just let my guys just book you the right loads. It would still be worth it, because the main thing about dispatch is not all that auxiliary stuff. You can handle that yourself. You've done it before. Yeah, it's a pain in the in the rear end, but you could do it if you needed to. But if you don't have the skill, or you don't have the ability, or you don't have the experience to be able to book loads and negotiate with brokers and do it on a high level, especially in a difficult market, then by all means get someone who can, right? So like I would make a terrible truck driver. I would make a horrible truck driver. I'm blind as a bat. I'm better suited in front of a computer, talking on the phone. Don't get me wrong. Like I love sports cars. I gun around. I had my own, custom built stuff, and I enjoy the heck out of it. And I've gotten all the tickets and all the other stuff for it. But the truth of the matter is, it's very different. You put me behind a semi, I'm probably not going to be a very good driver. So, and I know that. But what I do also know, and the reason that this business started, was because I was an excellent dispatcher. I was an excellent salesperson. And my career and my past experience all say that. And so, of course, I'm going to focus on my strengths to make them better. And what I did is I went to the next step level. It's like, okay, well, what if I could train others? What if I could find a few people who also had the potential, and then we developed that potential? And that's what we've done over the last decade. And this is the result of that. Alex is the result of that. Our dispatcher is a result of that. Our auxiliary staff handles paperwork and packets, and the guys in our accounting department, Chris and Sebastian, all those guys are the right people in the right place doing the right things that are their strength. I wouldn't get Sebastian to be a dispatcher. He'd be a terrible dispatcher. I wouldn't get Chris to be a dispatcher. Those guys are fantastic with accounting, keeping things straight. Like Sebastian is a programmer, he's a software engineer. So that's not the guy for dispatch, But guys like Peter, for example, and we'll have Peter jump in one of these days. He actually promised he's going to show up one of these days and is going to have a discussion with you guys. A lot of you guys are dispatched by Peter. Is an excellent dispatcher, long time, excellent dispatcher. And so my point to you guys is this: we're a dispatch company and a leasing outfit. Many of you guys on leasing programs are just overpaying. Many of you guys overpay, but also you're under earning. Like you're still busting your butt out there, but just the rates you're getting are terrible. And then they're overcharging you with all kinds of other stuff that you don't need. And you end up just, spinning your wheels for no reason. On the other hand, you have guys like this, under dispatch. You have your own MC authority. You went through the trouble of setting up all the accounts, getting everything taken care of, getting yourself, your financial guys like CPAs and bookkeepers and not bookies, bookkeepers and all your financial professionals. You got all your accounts taken care of. You got your fuel. All the responsibilities on you guys, and then many of you guys or most of you guys are also drivers of your own trucking company. And here you are trying to fill out packets on a steering wheel while you're driving just so you can book this load. And you think you're going to have good luck talking to a broker who's selling like tens and tens of deals a day, sometimes maybe 100 deals a day. He's had all this experience. And you're driving with a crappy 4G signal on your tablet, or you're parked in a truck, in a truck parking lot, in a truck stop, and you're barely, your internet is barely working. You're on your Bluetooth. You're trying to go through different screens on your phone to dial the number. It's just not efficient. It's a lot better to have, like, if you got guys sitting behind computers on the brokerage side and they got all this data and they know the rates and they know how to talk to you and they know that this is their market, this is not the truckers market. Yeah, of course they're going to have the upper hand. So arm yourself and get yourself a strong dispatcher, not just any dispatcher, and actually run the numbers. Because I know there's companies out there that do it for 3.5%, 4% dispatch, and we charge 7%. Where do we get off? But run the numbers. Run the numbers. I'm telling you, I've had a customer who ran the numbers and that 2% difference. They were paying less, but they were making so much less than what we could have gotten for them that it looked, when we ran the numbers, that easily, they were leaving over $1,000 per week on the table, and they got multiple trucks. Can you afford that? Even if you can afford that, why the hell would you want to do that? Right? So that's the difference. There's nothing wrong with asking for help. Nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. What is wrong is refusing to learn, refusing to be coachable, teachable, refusing to educate yourself, refusing to listen. That's wrong. And that's a very fixed mindset, and that you won't last very long in business. So when you go to our website, aftdispatch.com, you don't have to go anywhere. Right on the homepage. Nice ad. Honestly, not trying to advertise. That's not the thing. This is the segue where I want you guys to, if you guys need services, if you guys need help, by all means, you come out here, dispatch service, you click learn more, first name, MC number, email, and phone. We'll get in touch with you on Monday. Same thing here. Owner operator, first name, email, and phone number. That's it. Done deal. There's a ton you can learn right here on our blog, if my mouse will work. All the information's here. You know, how to choose truck dispatch companies, you know, how we can help you, some of the, you know, like truths about it. And like some of these things we've covered before, the benefits being an owner operator, truck driver, some of the things that people don't really think about when they jump into trucking. It was, you know, my mentality of jumping into the trucking industry, it was more of a business owner, like where I'm finally not going to have a boss and I'm going to be my own boss and all this other stuff. BS, you know, you're going to work more, you're going to make less. So you have to be in the right mindset of being an entrepreneur. Is that worth it to you? You're going to work way more. You're going to have way more stress. You're going to have way more responsibility. You're going to have people. You're going to learn so much about people because grown adults will act like children. When you're in a position of a company working somewhere in a corporate environment, you don't have to do that because you're more of the child and your boss is the one that has to deal with you. Now you're going to be the boss. And so that's the thing about it. You know, you have to understand that, are you the right person for business? Do you have the type 5 truckers and, you know, some of the, let me see where it was, the 5 things truckers wish they knew. I think this was the one where we actually literally talked about some of these things, like home becomes a distant horizon when you're driving as a truck driver. Solitude becomes your constant companion. Showers and hot meals are fleet food, not fine dining. Sleep becomes a stolen privilege, not a right. Not everyone appreciates your open road love, right? So rude customers, impatient drivers, traffic snarls, you know, become unwelcome companions. So the bottom of the right, hello from Orange, Texas, James West, hello. So the bottom line is that it's not all just beauty and awesome and cool. There's a lot of stuff and there's a lot better ways to make money. So if this is not what you want to do, if you don't want to be a truck driver, or if you don't want to run a trucking company, or if you don't want to be in business, period, there's nothing wrong with being somewhere else. But if you are doing this and this is your long haul, then do things correctly. If you can't dispatch, let someone else do that. If you can't handle billing and invoicing, like for example, I used to do my own taxes. I did okay, but I didn't have a lot of income coming in. So it was pretty straightforward. As we started to develop and grow, we had to do a lot more tax planning. Multiple other entities opened up, more companies that opened up. We had to grow and had 1099 contractors. Some are W-2 people. There's you know, quarterly meetings with the CPA to allocate funds for different tax deposits that have to happen that I didn't have to deal with in the past. SUDA, FUDA, like state unemployment and federal unemployment funds, your Medicare, Medicaid. I couldn't do any of those things. And there's different accounts and my CPA handles all that stuff. Now I could save money by doing all the stuff yourself, but I'm not a CPA. I'm a business owner and he's the one who can handle this better. And he does my tax planning. He gets in touch and says, Vitaly, you're doing really well based on what we're seeing. You may want to pick up another piece of equipment in order to reduce your taxable income. This will help you towards the end of the year. I don't have the knowledge, the skill set, the time, the patience to be able to do that. That's why I hire people to do that for me. Now, are there other things you could hire help and help you out? Absolutely, 100%. But should you? Probably not. Like, for example, people go out there and say, I'm going to pay this company $1,500 to open up an MC authority for me. Why? It's free. Just go do it yourself. You're going to learn about the company. You're going to learn what are the requirements. You're going to learn what do you have to do to comply. You're going to fill out your MCS 150. You're going to do your biannual update. You're going to see everything that's in there. You're going to figure out how to get insurance. I had a customer until recently, until a few months back, who did exactly that. And when he came back to the country, everything was taken care of and his trucks were running, he had no access to email, no passwords, no nothing. The company that he had paid in order to set him up opened up an account with a factoring company. And then now he couldn't get any of his receivables paid out because he had no control over the factoring company. We couldn't run credit checks. We couldn't do this. We couldn't do that. We couldn't even submit invoices. That company was long gone, but they had all the access and everything set up, and they did everything to benefit themselves while getting paid to do these things. So stay away from that. You cannot just give away every piece of your business and then expect to still make some sort of margin, and you won't learn anything. You'll be in business for 10 years and you won't know what you're doing or anything like that. So it's super, super, super important that you guys take care of that. Hey, there you are, Mr. Falcon. Good to see you in the chat, sir. So, all right. So here's that. Yeah, just fill out the information box. I promise you, there's no high pressure sales or whatever you want to call it. We don't do that. We don't do any of that. Not Alex. You'll never run into any of my guys pushing you to sign up, or this is the way. We're never going to promise you any sort of numbers. We'll tell you about based on your driving, based on your company, your standing, how you operate, the markets you're in, your equipment, this, and that. Here are other guys who do very, very similarly. Here are the rates they get. Here's the gross, and here's what you can look at. Here's his deadhead. Here's his loaded. You make up your own mind. If this is better than what you're doing now, take out the 7% fee. Is it still better? Okay, great. If you break even, it's exactly the same after 7%. Okay, well, you made exactly the same dollar amount. You didn't have to call, haggle, handle paperwork, do any of the stuff. And then when you're done, you just sent in your paperwork. We handle billing and invoicing. Your factoring company paid you. I think it's still worth it at that time. Now, if you're routinely losing money with your dispatch company, then it's probably time to look for another dispatch company. All right. So anyway, enough of that. I don't mean for this to be a sales pitch or anything like that. Anyway, guys, cargo theft spiked 68% in the fourth quarter, led by food and beverage freight. So again, you're gonna want to be very, very careful. Reefers are getting robbed left and right. Now, today is going to be mainly freight waves. They had some good articles, but I generally go through a multitude. I have a list of companies that I use for news and things like that. But you have to be really careful and take it with a grain of salt because some of these companies are actually sponsored by some of the people they write about. So you have to be careful. So when what we're talking about here is trucks getting basically robbed. Fourth quarter of 2024, towards the end of the year, into Christmas, 68% spike in cargo thefts, mainly reefers. So reefers, guys, there's a lot of you guys out there. You have to be super, super careful. Okay. California, Texas, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky continue to be hotspots for cargo thefts, according to Danny Raymond, an intelligence and response manager at Overhaul, a real-time visibility and risk management platform based in Austin, Texas. So again, California, Texas, Florida, Georgia, and Kentucky, mainly for reefers, okay? So you have to be super, super careful because this is a liability that falls onto your insurance and it will be considered a loss, and therefore on your renewal, they'll do loss runs, and you're going to be in a position where your insurance will just go through the roof. So hopefully that kind of helps. And then they're saying, protecting owner-operators, cargo theft, some of the things that you could do. There is I don't have the name for it, but there was a really cool company that very early on into the industry, very early on, and what I mean by industry is I'm talking about crypto. They came out with a way, it was a special camera, that an app you use on your phone where you took a picture of your cargo during, like, let's say after an accident or after you got loaded, or you took a picture of the doors or whatnot, like just, or like I said, after an accident, things like that. But what was different is it kept that photo in a blockchain and it created a timestamp. This way, insurance companies could not argue with you and say that this could have been spoofed. You could have edited this. This could have a different date on it, or, blah, 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 and just not use that as evidence. Because once in a blockchain, that's it. It cannot be edited. What you see is what you get. And so I don't remember the name of the company, but I thought at the time that was a kind of a cool, really cool idea to be in. In any case, guys, hope this has been a bit helpful. If you have any questions, please, don't be quiet in the chat. Let us know. I'd love to be able to cover some info for you. I know that Alex had some stuff he wanted to discuss, but he's currently on the phone with someone. So, and I'm going to ask him to join in right after to cover some of the stuff because I'm super excited. Please stick around because the meat and potatoes is what Alex told me he wanted to discuss, and I thought it was a fantastic idea, and I certainly want to see if that's something that we can jump on him. So it looks like someone's really got him by the ear there. So if you guys have any questions, please do send them in the chat. Would love to cover that with you guys. Also, if you have any sort of comments or anything like that, you can always leave those in the contact us. That'll come directly to me, and then we'll be able to get in touch with you guys. You can also get in touch with us at 801-448-6363. You can just hit option 3. That'll come to me, and I'll be able to take that call. And, we'll get you on the air. We'd certainly appreciate that. Let me check in on Alex. Let's take a look here. Because we don't know how long that's going to take. Okay, sounds good. All righty, guys. So yeah, if you have any kind of questions, anything we can answer for you. I mean, things are, definitely getting up there with the freight. I still strongly believe that the market's improving. Now, all the telltale signs are in place, but again, and we got into a bit of an argument on last live show when I couldn't read the chat, and when I popped it up later, it was probably too late for the gentleman who had posted, but he I think there was a bit of confusion on micro over macro. So micro is like a microscope, right? You're looking very, very close at something like microeconomics. And you have macro, which is really taking that 10,000 foot view, pulling back out and saying, okay, when I pull back a few miles, and what does it look like? What is a general view of things? And what I mean is this: when you're looking at a micro, things are not looking very good at all. But when you're looking at a macro level, there are improvements in the industry. There are improvements to the economy in certain sectors, certain areas, and there are certainly improvements in your general day-to-day operations. So there is that. The other thing that was kind of going across my mind, what do you guys think about this? I know that recently there was a program that was opened up on a federal level where they would be bringing in 5,000, basically some of the people that are crossing that would be interested in getting their CDL fully funded by the federal government and becoming, a truck driver, CDL truck driver, because the government continues to say that there is a truck driver shortage out there. Now, whether that's true or not remains to be seen. I personally don't think there's a truck driver shortage. I think there's definitely a shortage of drivers on the side of large companies, but had they treated people with respect and not like a number and paid them a decent wage, I think that then they certainly would have, had less problems. But unfortunately, that's the case, and they call it a truck driver shortage. I don't think there's a truck driver shortage, and I don't think we need 5,000 new folks coming in with limited English and whatnot, and putting a risk on the roads while the American truck driver is suffering, and for some time now, and barely able to make ends meet. That's rough, and I don't know if I agree with that. What do you guys think? I think. You guys have definitely opinions on this, and I think every single one of you guys from Reputable Rides, Adam Woods, Elisa, Lord Kevin, a lot of you guys, they're all truck drivers here in the United States. A lot of you guys have been here in the industry for a long time. How do you guys feel about that? Is it fair to have 5,000 folks be brought in, provided special treatment, cover the cost of getting the CDL, have funds set aside to get them into a semi-truck, get them a trailer, and help them fully obtain all the credentials necessary to run a trucking company? Is that fair? Or maybe should that money be reallocated elsewhere and maybe, spread it across the truckers that are already in business? So, James West, loud and clear, sir. Loud and clear. Let's see. Maybe Alex will jump back in. Okay, let's take a look here. So Alex will be in a few minutes, so that'll be fine. So yeah, so there is that information. Now, and something else that, let me see if I can pop this up. One of the things that you guys often talk about, I'm going to show you something interesting. So here's Total Quality Logistics, right? Cincinnati, Ohio. Look how cool this is. So, and recently the DOT has changed the way that it looks. The safer platform looks different now than it used to. But here's the interesting thing. Licensing and insurance, I'm not a robot.
I'm back.
There he is. So now they actually have 2 docket numbers. They used to have 1. Okay. DBATQL. We're going to go through here. Welcome back, Alex. The bond is active.
Thank you.
And what's interesting is that it shows $0 amount. Now, what's also interesting that if we go to, there's
The is not visible.
what's not visible? Oh yeah. Thank you. I was on. I appreciate that. I would have just done it. So what we did is we went to TQLs on Safer, and we're looking at their insurance and things like that. Here's something that's interesting. TQL does not show insurance. They do have their docket, but the bond is not actually shown. Now, if you look at the insurance history, nothing. Active authority, they have a property broker authority. And then there's another one. If we go back further, let's go forward. Go through here. Also listed as a bond, active broker authority, right? So now we go to active and pending insurance, and there you go. Pacific Financial Association for TQL. This is their bond posted in 2013, so 11 years ago. But what's interesting is that there's no policy number. It's a trust fund. There's no policy number. So the reason for it is because it's a trust fund held through Pacific Financial, and so they probably put their own money into the account and kept it there. Alisa, thank you so much for letting me know. Yeah, I appreciate that. Alex has also kind of jumped in and let me know on that end. And notes, I'm going to get rid of these things. So you have to be really, really careful. The reason I brought that up for you guys is so that you guys can see that that certain entities enjoy certain benefits that other entities that happen to be smaller generally don't benefit. Very difficult for you guys to be self-insured. Would save you a ton of money, but very difficult for you guys to be self-insured. Very difficult for you guys to have underground fuel tanks that you could average out the cost of fuel like FedEx does, and and basically be in that market. Fuel goes down, you fill up the coffers. Fuel goes up in price, you start using the local reserves, right? So things like that. Very, very difficult for you guys. So you have to take whatever you can. So like I said, keep control of your operating costs and increase your gross revenue, and then you'll do really, really well. Alex, you around?
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. I thought
had
maybe
a very, very interesting talk with. He wanted initially to jump in with the call, but he wanted actually more information about how he could do better, and we actually very, 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 very deep discussion. And I think would have been resonate a little bit more with me, but I didn't really find a way to connect it to the stream. So I'll do a little bit of a short resume.
Mm-hmm.
As I'm sure that Mr. Manuel that I talked earlier doesn't mind it. He actually has a very, very interesting case, and he has a very, very good business model. So basically, this sir is a new authority, 3 months of MC only.
Mm-hmm.
He has 3 trucks, 6 drivers, all flatbeds, all 48 states, 1 month on the road. They tarp too, so they have everything. They have all the recipe of success. And he was asking why, everybody's making money except me. The brokers make money, the dispatchers make money. When do I make money?
When do I make? When's my turn?
Yeah, when is my turn? So we kind of broke down a little bit and see a little bit what were the problems. And we divided we cut pretty much all the possibilities and analyzed everything. That's why I didn't want to bring it to the stream, because it was a very, very analytic discussion.
No, your facial expressions showed that it was a very in-depth conversation, so I wanted to leave you alone. I sent you a message there. So no, that's fantastic. And if anything ever like that happens, you can always forward a call to me, or you can jump in. We can do a conference. That way we can all be on a call, and our viewers can also jump in on that.
I didn't thought about that.
That's okay.
Yeah, conference would have worked perfectly. I didn't thought about that.
Which is totally fine. Don't worry about it. We're living and learning. I'm learning every day.
The case captivated me so much that I was in there 100%.
Mm-hmm. No, that's fantastic. That's what we want.
I really love the attitude of Mr. Manuel. He has the right attitude as a carrier, and to be honest, that's the kind of attitude that every new carrier has to have. Your drivers have to go everywhere. They have to stay on the road in order to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
You can't hire your driver for 70 cents a mile to do New York local, for example.
Yeah, that's not going to work. They're going to come up with a $300 paycheck and quit next week.
Exactly.
So that's the case.
He had the perfect situation, and we narrowed down to 2 probable possibilities that why he's not making enough profits or close to no profits.
Mm-hmm.
So of course, one of his major problem is the fact that it's a 3 months MC. We all know it, that when you're 3 months MC, you are struggling getting loads.
Can you talk
And you
about
don't
that
come with a
part a little
position
bit
of-
more in depth with the folks? Because that's you bring up a very good, valid point. Could you spend a few minutes talking about that? Because I know that's part of what
Yes.
you wanted to discuss. So maybe this is the right time. We have I promised the people in the chat that please stick around because Alex has something that he wants to discuss, and you were on that call, and I'm really hoping more people will jump in. And at least I'll get to your question. That's a really good question, and I'm gonna ask Alex to talk about at least that portion, and then of course segue into what you were going to talk about. In fact, let me make this a little bigger so that we can see. No, that's not the one. I'm still struggling here, guys. The struggle
That's
is
all
real.
right.
There we go.
All right. So basically, when you're 3 months old MC, I'll explain a little bit. I'll give you a little bit of my secrets, even though I'm not supposed to do that. But I'll explain a little bit of what it means to actually book a load and how does that work in a more professional way. So basically, when you come as a 3 months old MC, I already talked this with Manuel. He understood it completely and he completely resonated with me. When you're 3 months old MC, even if you have the right mentality, you have the right work ethics, you have the right equipment, everything is in order, everything in like it's crystal perfect clear. You're still a 3 months old MC. In order to be able to negotiate to haggle at a higher rate, you have to have a position of power. You have to have qualities, power to bring to the table. Because, for example, right now, especially right now, there are a lot of new carriers. There are 1 month MC, 3 months MC, 6 months MC, and they know that there are five, maybe seven brokers, major brokers. I'm talking not about small ones that have one load every blue moon, once a blue moon. I'm talking about the major brokers. You are able to work with maybe six major brokers. They know that too. So what that means? That means what's the broker thinking? This guy doesn't have where to go. He has five other guys that think the same as me because they have the same experience as me. So I'm not gonna give to this guy $300 or $400 more. No, I'm gonna give him $50 maybe more to make him happy. I posted it $200 less than I was supposed to give it, so I have room for haggle. I'll make 150. I'll give him $50 to make him happy, and everybody wins. Of course, you're not gonna be happy about it as a carrier, but you can't do much about it. There's where a dispatcher that maybe there are some negotiating skills that I mean I have even my personal secrets that I cannot really give them up because that would basically I would sell myself. Those are a little bit harder things to talk about, but there are things that dispatchers can present it in a different way to push a little bit. Of course, it's not gonna be the best. You're not gonna get $300 or $400, but maybe you're gonna get $100 instead of 50.
Mm-hmm.
So even the way you present your case can influence it a little bit. So that's where an experienced dispatcher compared to a rookie dispatcher can make a difference in this kind of situations. And his manual's case in particular, it was super interesting. Why it was interesting? Because uh, he has one of the hardest cases possible for a dispatcher.
Mm-hmm.
New MC with three trucks, team flatbed. So basically, booking a flatbed is already hard. It's the hardest equipment to book on a spot freight because there are more things to take into consideration. You have much more equipment. You have tarps, chains, uh, um, pipe stakes, ramps, etc. So you have a lot of stuff that you work on, and loads are much more different. And you have to know what you're doing. It's not like in driving that you just take, I don't know, a load of water and you just haul it. No, it's not like that. It's much more in depth. It's a lot. It's a specialized equipment. That's why it's called a specialized equipment. And needs have special needs. When you put it as a team, it already doubles the amount of difficulty to be able to book it at a higher standard.
Mm-hmm.
If you have 3 months of MC, the difficulty rises here. You need a professional dispatcher to book it well. Most of the dispatchers, like maybe a rookie that has 1 year of experience, maybe 1 year and a half, will not be even be able to do it. And plus, you have to be very knowledgeable in the flooded market. Otherwise, you're gonna not make it. That's why I insist all the time when I'm talking with new carriers that call in to ask more information and see a little bit how do we work and maybe find a way to work together. That's why I tell them all the time, okay, you want to run only, I don't know, Midwest and Northeast. I get it. You like mostly this side. That's totally fine. That's totally okay. However, you can't do that at 3 months authority because you're not doing trucking to have fun and have a hobby. You're not gonna go to North Dakota to meet the people of North Dakota. No, you just go there to deliver a load, and that's it. I get it. Don't like the people of North Dakota. All right. I mean,
Very nice people, by the
don't
way.
like other people. Doesn't matter where it is. Yeah, just give North Dakota as an example. Don't get me wrong.
You don't want to get people in North Dakota upset with you. Lots of guns in North Dakota.
No, but I actually like people in North Dakota. To be
Yeah,
honest,
I
they're
know.
very, very chill people, and they're very, very straightforward. I actually talked with a gentleman that will work with us very soon. I'll talk with you about that later. There's people out in North Dakota, and they have a fantastic mindset. So no, there are a lot of fantastic people out of there. I'll just give a
Absolutely.
random example because that's an area where a lot of people don't want to go.
Mhm.
That's why I mentioned North Dakota. So basically, if you want to succeed, especially when you're a new carrier, you put in a lot of money, you put in a lot of effort. You did all those efforts and all that hard work to get all the paperwork ready and get your truck and get your trailer and, excuse my expression, bust your ass, to be more precise. You can't be picky after that. Not properly in your first months, because those are your most critical months. Your costs are high, your insurance is high, fuel is high, the market is low. We all know it. The market is low, your insurance is high, your costs are high, everything is high. You can't say I don't want to go to North Dakota because I'm cold. You have AC in your truck, just turn it on and go.
Heater. Yep.
You have a heater in there, or yeah, I don't want to go to. I had a lot of time when I was a dispatcher, midsummer. Oh, I don't want to go to San Antonio. It's scorching hot out there. I get it, but you're not gonna sit there for 3 days and enjoy the sun. You're gonna go deliver. You're
Pick
gonna
up
stand
on a
under shade.
load.
Yes, it's still gonna be hot. You're gonna have to stand it for an hour, 2 or 3. And you're gonna get out and you're gonna be on your way. And plus, it's hot in Chicago too, not only in Texas. Don't worry.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You're 100%
So
correct.
being picky, let's say at least 3-6 months, you have a very, very high percentage, over 80% of going out of business. And in fact, I actually called one of most of those carriers that we used to work in the past that were like that. Vital actually gave me a list last week of, I think it was 40 or 50 carriers.
Oh, there's a lot more where that came from.
I found 5 or 6 that were picky like that were out of business a couple of months after we stopped working with them. And the other of them were either recently out of business, except one particular case that guy actually learned something and he's doing it very differently now. And he succeeded. But why he succeeded? Because he realized that, okay, being like that is not going to help me.
Yeah.
So it's okay to do mistakes.
It's
but
not
you
okay to
have
continue doing them.
accept it.
Yeah.
Because the first step of doing something right is realizing what you're doing wrong.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, a lot of folks don't realize it. You know, we see that in some of our customers that we get going. And I think this is partly what you wanted to talk about was where they hire a dispatcher, they do the setup documents, they open up their books, they give us a voided check. We're not going to do anything bad with it, don't get me wrong, but you guys give us everything that we need in order to book loads for you as if, you know, it's you booking loads, and then you don't allow the dispatcher to do his job. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, so
Actually,
I
before
wanted to talk about that subject.
Yeah, I know you did, and I'm super excited. But I wanted to cover Elisa's question really quick, and then kind of
sure.
come back
Go
to
ahead.
what you were talking about.
I'll be right back in 2 minutes.
You got it, man. You got it. Just you might want to mute. What do you think about the insurance prices? Elisa asked. You think they'll go down soon? So interesting question because I was talking to my insurance lady not long ago. I'll have to get her actually on one of these calls because she's just wonderful. And she knows so much about the industry. She's been in the industry for so long, and she's so fair and easy to deal with that I think there's going to be some stuff that she could tell us that would really benefit our viewers on our channel. Thank you, guys. And please, guys, if you get a chance, just a quick reminder, hit the like button, smash the like button, would you please? That'd be awesome. So as far as insurance, Elisa, what do you think about insurance prices? So I think they're terrible. I think they're very expensive. I think it's ridiculous. I'll give you an idea. I had a vehicle I recently got rid of, just a regular car, right? So, but I promise you this makes sense. I had that car for a very, very long time. It was a kind of an expensive ride or whatnot, and I understood expensive to repair, stuff like that. I get it. But my insurance continued to go up. My miles kept going up. The car was losing value, but every year my insurance renewal went up. And I didn't get any tickets, knock on wood, everything was fine. I didn't get anything stupid, anything bad. I didn't, you know what I mean? No accidents, no claims, no nothing, but my insurance kept going up. And I kept asking, I said, how come? What's going on? Well, they said, well, because cars are getting so much more complicated with all the technology, computers, and all this other stuff, the replacement cost is so much higher that it gets spread across the entire, general population, and we all end up paying for that. Well, here's the thing. We can do a correlation of that. Semi-trucks are getting, more expensive, right? Financing has gotten more expensive, and there's bigger gaps in coverage that needs to be covered through the insurance company. All of those three things will increase your premium. So I don't see that going down, especially considering that parts have become more expensive, more scarce, more difficult to get your hands on, all sorts of shortages, and all the technology is making the cost. So for example, the head unit on a Toyota 4Runner, the 2023, 2024 4Runner, this is just an example, just the freaking CD player, because there's so much stuff that plugs into it and the whole computer system and everything goes through that giant thing, it's $6,000. Now, for a truck, it might be like, oh, I spent that routinely on repairs and blah, 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 and all this stuff. But for a car, for the CD player to cost $6,000, and this is dealer's words, and only because this was actually the finance manager's words because he had that car and he had to get it replaced. It was covered by the warranty, so that worked out good. But my point is, when you have costs going up and you don't have any reason for those costs to go up, you're paying for the differential of other people entering into the market. So will the cost go down? Highly unlikely. Insurance tends to just go up in price. And we also have to remember, guys, that insurance companies like Progressive and some of the bigger companies, they're publicly traded companies. When you have an influx of lots of new MC carriers opening up, MC authorities are entering the industry, requiring the insurance policies in order to activate their MC authority. Customers, insurance companies receive a lot of customers. Their numbers come up. They become more profitable. World Logistics. Hey, folks. Hey, how's it going, sir?
Hi.
What's going to happen is that those costs will go up. The stock will be more valuable. Some of the dividends that will be paid out are going to be higher, valuations are higher, and then suddenly the market starts to normalize, and publicly traded companies they're only there to benefit the shareholders, okay? Not you guys, unless you're the shareholders. So what happens is suddenly you have all these losses. They don't want to do that because then that becomes scary for the shareholders, and they start to begin to sell those shares, which begins a plummet, the stock price starts to plummet. They want to avoid all that. But how do you continue to hit higher highs when the market doesn't support that anymore? Well, you create fees. You charge more on premiums. You blame the market. You blame that equipment's getting too expensive. Electronic components are expensive. There's more of them. Some of that is true, but some of that isn't. And I just don't see, considering that these are publicly traded companies, I just don't see how insurance premiums are going to go down anytime soon. Once capacity decreases, we may see a drop, but not until then. So I hope that answers your questions. Sorry, it's a little bit wordy, but I want it to be good.
A small note on what you were saying earlier. Another reason that insurance does tend to go up is the same time that the time goes by and all the equipment gets more complicated, more tech in it, to be more
Yeah,
precise.
absolutely.
I'll make it simple. 20 years ago, most of the trucks had 20% electronics. Rest of it was mechanical. Everything that is mechanical is very, very much easier to work with and fix it, and so go on.
Absolutely.
When it comes to electronics, 100% of the times, they're not going to fix the electronic itself.
100% of the time. They're just going to replace it.
Remove it, replace it.
That's right.
And that's it. And to replace a part, it's much more expensive than fixing it. But there are not enough tech people to fix those kind of issues, because to fix, I don't know, a motherboard of a certain equipment, for example, a motherboard of a navigation system, it takes a guy to work for it on pretty much a
all
week.
day. Yeah.
More than a day.
Yeah. Oh, you mean like to fix the motherboard? Yeah, they're not going to do that. Yeah, like the PCB boards and stuff. They're not going to do that.
But if your let's say your gearbox breaks, there are a lot of mechanics that can fix it. They're not going to replace it. They're going to fix it.
Exactly.
But on a tech side, they cannot. So that's why it goes higher. That's one of the reasons it goes higher.
Yeah.
So see here, Reputable Rights asks, do you guys do flatbed? If not, how come?
We do.
Definitely we do flatbed.
And we kick butt with flatbed.
Properly, Manuel, the guy that I was talking about earlier, that came to me with a lot of very, very interesting questions, have 3 flatbed teams. So we definitely work with flatbeds. We have very successful flatbed drivers and owner-operators and everything. On the leasing side, under agency, we have our own flatbeds too. We have under AFT carriers that run flatbed, and it's working wonderful. The market is high, but it's not for everybody. If you just started trucking and you say, "Oh, I'm going to jump into flatbed because Alex from AFT said it's the best equipment," it is the best equipment, but it's also the equipment where you have to get out in cold or sun or mud or rain and chain, tarp, strap, fix your pipe stakes, maybe even nail your coils.
I was gonna say.
Nail your coils, the coils that you're gonna load up, or I don't know, fix the ramps or check that everything goes. It's a lot of extra physical work.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
So
Plus, there's a lot of equipment.
If you're okay with it, if you like that, if you have a healthy health style and you like to work out and you like to do physical stuff, definitely it's for you. Go for it, my friend.
Yep. Well, remember Liddell?
If you're not, no.
Remember Liddell? He was a carrier with his own MC Authority. When he came to us, he had a brand new MC Authority, pretty new, and he had I remember his trailer was brand new. I don't think his truck was, but he's an excellent example, because that guy, it doesn't matter what you pay him, it don't matter what you do, he will not leave flatbed. We're saying, Liddell, you're killing it, man. You're doing such a great job. But you could be making way more in the dry van, way more in a reefer. You're such a strong driver. You're such a strong carrier.
That was back then.
That was back. Yeah. This was back then when the market was really, really hot. Flatbeds weren't as hot, but vans were just killing it. Reefers were killing it. He didn't care. He wasn't going to do it. Flatbed or nothing. He actually ended up closing down his MC, went over to another outfit, I believe, that started doing step deck work and stuff like that. And we're still trying to carry him over. If I could just get a hold of him, he can come over. He could make more money, still run flatbed. We're certified to do that. We're insured to do that. So we're able to, take care of that. We just got to get a hold of the right people. But as you can see, every week we do quite well with flatbeds. They are picking up. I talked to some of the guys in management. They're saying clearly flatbed is picking up. Clearly reefers are picking up. And unfortunately, while vans are still doing well, I don't think they're going to stick around for much longer, because there's a major overcapacity issue specifically with dry vans. But back to Alex's point, flatbeds, yes, they are cheaper to rent, they are cheaper to buy, but there's a lot of auxiliary equipment and you're gonna have to go with it.
Sorry for interrupting.
Please do.
They're not cheaper.
They're not cheaper. It's flipped, huh?
Yep.
Because
even
the market,
even to rent, 2017 flatbed 48 flatbed to rent per month is somewhere around $1,300. Between 11 and 13, and to rent a dry van 2024
$800
is $1,000.
So as you can see, prices have changed. So it's getting tougher, and that makes perfect sense, Alex, because as the market increases, there's more freight availability, as the rates continue to go up, of course, that piece of equipment is going to be more scarce and more expensive to rent and insure and things like that.
Yeah.
But just keep
And
in
that's
mind.
48. If we go up even to 1,700 a month.
Yeah, no, absolutely. 53s are the way to go. If you can find one, get a 53 footer, way better off than your 48 footers. And we still dispatch 48 footers, but you can have way better luck with 53 footers, 51
Yeah,
footers.
but the market got a little bit better on the 48 footer days. Used to
Did
be
it?
2 years, for
Good.
example. Like there's much more freight. Before, you barely could have even loaded
Absolutely.
like
Absolutely.
a 48. Right now it's much better, but still, of course, having a 53, you're always gonna have much more chances because you open up more markets for yourself.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's and in the 53 footers, they're a lot more maneuverable too. That's the other thing. There are a lot more maneuverable turns getting in and out than 48 footers. I know it seems strange, but it's just the way that the tandems are set up and everything is a little bit different, and maneuverability changes drastically. So that there is that stuff. So yeah, we do flatbed. We do a very, very good job with flatbed, but we need the right stock. We need guys who will tarp. You're in a spot market. 70% of the freight's going to be tarp. If you don't tarp, you cut yourself automatically out of 70% of the market. Just understand that. If you're in the contract market, that's not the same. That's not the same. You can be successful in the contract market without tarping, but with tarping, even more successful. But in the flatbed market, in the spot, you absolutely have to do that. Now, Reputable Rides also was wondering if there are any skateboarders in the chat. So we got a few of you guys out here. I assume that not enough to have skateboarders, but if there are, give them a jingle. Reputable Rides, skateboarder in the chat. Then the next thing he said, he started out doing oversized flatbed work as his very first load, and he's still doing it. And a shout out to Chicago companies. So absolutely, it's Chicago companies. They're either wonderful or terrible. You got to be really, really careful. But good on you, my friend. Good on you on the oversized, overweight. I got a friend of mine who's dispatching, and he's been telling me stories about oversized, overweight, all the permit works that he has to do, all the, he has to do all the paperwork. He has to do all the calculations. He has to do with escorts and things like that, and the different types of escorts and the different cost of skateboarding is another term for flatbed. I've never touched an actual board. Yeah, me neither, man. I can barely walk on these two legs. I didn't know. So live and learn. Thank you for that. I didn't know that. He said any skateboarders out there. And I was like, what is he talking about? But apparently that means flatbedders.
If you think about it, it actually looks like a skateboard.
Oh, it absolutely does. Absolutely. Now I can't get it out of my head. Absolutely. One quick little switch, and I'm going to switch over and we'll continue with Alex to kind of finish up. I wanted to show you guys this. This is the dispatch side one. I want to make sure you guys are aware, and this is why I made this one red. Semi-trucks only. Guys, we only work with semi-trucks. We work exclusively with tractor-trailer combinations, not hot shots, box trucks, Sprinter vans, or LTL. We focus on what we do best: semi-trucks pulling, dry vans, reefers, and flatbeds. That is it. We don't do anything else, nothing specialized. This is what we've done forever. Transparency in your payment. This is the page I wish that more people would go to, because it explains absolutely everything about our service. All of the loads that we ever book to you, as an MC carrier, all loads are always booked under your company name and MC authority. You'll always receive the original rate confirmation on every load. It's the same with getting paid. You can factor, you can use quick pays, you can use Net 30. The money always goes to you. We don't collect your money and then pay you. If anybody does that, don't do that unless you are leased on. Then, of course, it's their receivable. They receive the income and it distributed amongst the driver. Your portion goes to you, then you and your company decides what you're going to do. So complete transparency, only semi-trucks. We've been around a very long time. We know what we're doing. And for once in the industry, because I know that people love to put these kinds of things out there. We've, tens of millions of pounds of freight that we've moved and blah, blah, blah. A lot of those times when you look at the numbers and break them down, they actually don't make any sense. We've literally booked over 75,000 loads. We've ran, that's why I didn't put an exact number, because an approximation, we're actually over that, but I ran the numbers with Sebastian. We looked through invoicing and all this other stuff, and we did do that. And all you have to do, and then some of the questions are here: is there a long-term contract? How much does it cost? Are there additional fees? Are there minimum weekly charges? No, and no. And the fee is 7%. That's the flat rate. Now, those of you guys who are lease on owner operators, a very, very similar page to this. You guys can get all your information. We have IRP plates. We have IFTA and fuel card programs available. You can book your own self. You can, manage your own home time and all of those things. And this is the similar page that we have here. Again, 100% owner operator fleet. We don't have anybody else under there. You're going to get 87% of the money comes to you, and complete transparency on every single load that you haul with us. You're going to get a very simple document. Here's the number for the A2C, about a little over 27,000 loads. We're well past that number. This hasn't been updated in a long time, and we have well over 50 owner operators active, constantly operating, and some information on how you can lease on with us, if you can book your own loads, what's expected of you as a lease on owner operator, and how quickly we can get you on the road, which is very, very quickly. So guys, all the information is there, and we're also available. So enough on that. I'll get off my soapbox, and we'll continue with the show. Really appreciate you guys. Please make sure to smash the like button if you get a chance to do so. And I'm going to switch over to Alex real quick here, because I want to see if he could continue talking with us more with the focus on what you had prepared for us. If you would, please. I'm going to mute myself.
Yes. So I wanted to talk about a subject that I encountered a lot lately that me personally, on a personal level, I find it incredibly weird. So I had a good amount of people that started working with us, and they were actually super excited and looking forward to it and ecstatic about it. And they had everything. Like, they were staying on the road. Yeah, maybe they were not the oldest MCs on the road, or some of them were. So they had good MC, they had good record, they had the trucks, they had the trailers, they had the drive, they had everything. Like, there was no problem with them. We ran his numbers, we calculated and ran, because I always do that. Whenever I talk with somebody that calls in or sends his information and I call him to talk with him, I'll ask him multiple questions, like, because these are pretty much the things that I'm trying to figure out in order to see it's a good service for you or not. Because if it's a good service only for us, I don't want it. I want mutual healthy business that makes you happy, makes us happy, and everybody makes money. We don't look for the tomorrow's dollar. We look for the next year's dollar, basically. But to sum it up, basically, we had a good amount of people that started working with us, signed up, as Vitaly said, sent all the documents and everything. And after that, they started booking themselves. Like, why? And I checked their dispatcher first to see, all right, maybe it's a dispatcher problem. I called to talk with the dispatcher and see. I asked even Andy, who's one of our dispatcher, and Peter and Joe, and so go on. Um, tried to figure out what happened, why he started booking himself, and everything. And I actually recall one of the conversations that I had with my colleague Joe, who said that, man, he was in a bad spot. He looked for, like, he was continuously looking, and after half an hour, the guy told him that, look, I already booked myself a load for a very cheap price, much cheaper. And of course, Joe also saw that load, but he considered, man, this is too cheap. I can't give him this load. It's a bad load. So one of the problems that I've encountered to these carriers is the patience. I mean, I get it. It sucks to stay into a truck stop or at the receiver or in, I don't know, wherever you stay and wait for the load. But the solution to it is not to take the cheapest load and just go, because you're just going to drive yourself out of business slowly but steady. You're going to go out.
Oh, yeah.
And that's not what we chase, because we don't want to take that 7% of you for 2 months or 1 month or 3 months and then part ways. That's never our goal. It's not beneficial for anybody. You'll get out of business and lose a lot of money. We don't make money anymore. And we have a bad reputation at the same time. Why would we ever want that? Nobody wins anything. You think I'm just gonna make me happy that I make, I don't know, $500 and then I lost a customer? No, of course not. That's why we always aim for good business and a win-win situation. That's why whenever a customer comes to us with multiple trucks, maybe 2 or 3 trucks, and they have all their own drivers, we try to find a common solution that we keep the owner happy, that we make money, of course, because that's also an important factor. and I'm not trying to hide it like maybe other people. Yes, of course we want to make money too, because that's how a company survives. But we also aim to make the driver happy. That's why we always ask how much you pay our drivers, how you pay our drivers, per mile. I've heard recently per hour too,
That's more and
or
more
per
coming up
day,
lately.
or so go on. And we try to find a common solution that benefits us, you, and your driver. Because if your driver is not happy, maybe we are happy, you are happy, we make very good average per mile, but your miles are low, your driver gets paid $1,000. He's not gonna be happy. Trust me, he's that's why I average between all those three. So driver is happy, you're happy, and we're all right. So I checked with it. That was not the case. This side
Your
or
audio's kind of going in and
official
out.
side.
Maybe your internet connection or something. There you go. Maybe that'll
Is
help.
it?
Yeah, it was for a second, but it sounds better now.
Oh, weird. All right. So, and the main problems I encountered actually because I start calling those carriers and see what's the problem. Because for me, it was super weird. Like, okay, we talked everything. You resonated with me. I resonated with you. We agreed on stuff. Vitaly?
Sorry about that. That was my fault.
That's all right. Um, basically, and they started booking themselves. So I talked with them, and they found the main problem. We solved the mystery. The main problem is the fear and this kind of mentality they'll probably never understand to let go of the reins. I get it that you worked for it and you did all the hard work to get to the point where you're at. Completely understand. But if you're starting to work with a dispatch company, with a dispatcher, even if it's a dispatch, doesn't matter if it's us or somebody else, doesn't even matter. The point is, if you're trying to work with somebody and you hire somebody to do a specific work for you, let him do it. Because if somebody else does a part, let's say, properly give the example of the dispatching. If you hire yourself a dispatcher to do the work for you, that doesn't mean you hired him because you're not capable. No. You hired him probably because you're driving 10 hours a day and you don't have the time, you don't have the physical time to do it. So it's nothing to be ashamed of. It's nothing to, I don't know, hide under your hand or something.
Yeah,
There's
there's nothing
no
wrong with it.
reason to do that.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason to do that. And trust me, you're not, if you work with a dispatcher and you're consistently nagging him like you're his wife, because it happens many times, you're not going to be more successful. First of all, your dispatcher is going to hate it because nobody likes to be nagged. He will concentrate 10% or 20% less time to find you loads because he's going to have to concentrate of how you nag him and how you ask him why you do this, why you do that. You can talk that pre-booking load or after, but not while booking the loads. Because when he's looking for the best load for you, what he needs is one, free reign so he can get the best for you. Because if he's gonna start checking with you for every single load pre-booking, I'm talking, you're gonna lose half of the loads. Because the best load is on the market, and I've said this before, even in live streams. I've said this before. The best load on a board is not the best load only for you. It's for everybody that looks on that board. So you're not gonna make sense if you're gonna do that. What I would suggest, I know some people hate it, but you work with a dispatcher. Give him free reins. Give him freedom for 2 weeks. For 2 weeks, you're not gonna.
Yeah, you
What's
got
the
to
worst case that can happen?
you got to
lost
develop your
$1,000,
data.
but you found out.
Exactly. Exactly.
Trust me, if you don't do that, you're gonna lose more than $1,000 on a long term. But let's say you work with a dispatcher. Give him freedom for 2 weeks. You don't tell him anything. Like, yeah, okay. I mean, of course, you settle it at the beginning. You have the first call together, you talk, you settle all the stuff. Look, I don't want to go to New York City because I hate traffic. That's totally fine. It's got nothing to do with the truck anyway. Or I don't like to go to Washington D.C. Fine, it's all right. It's not a problem. Settle those boundaries. Give him all the information that a dispatcher needs, like your your empty weight, maybe an empty scale ticket so you can see your weight per axle, etc., etc. All the things he needs, and then give him free hand for 2 weeks.
Yep.
After those 2 weeks, draw a line. Maybe after your hours of service are done, do some math for yourself, look it up a little bit, calculate. Okay, I was doing these 2 weeks before starting with these guys. I was doing that week I did 55. That week I did 6,000. Okay, I have 1150 with $2 a mile even. Now I'm going with these guys. I have 13,000, but my average is 198. And I'm kind of struggling because my average is low. Okay, let's talk to our dispatcher about this. Let's ask him why. And you'll talk with him and you ask him. And of course, it can be a reason of the market, or it cannot be, or maybe he aimed for a higher gross. But usually, this kind of things you settle them at the beginning. If you tell him, "Look, I want a balance in between average per mile and gross," he's gonna do that. If you tell him, "I want more average per mile than gross," maybe your gross is gonna be lower. It's gonna be 6,000 or 65. It's gonna be maybe 48 to 55, but your average per mile is gonna much higher because it's gonna aim for shorter loads with maybe a little bit less per day, but with higher average per mile. We have people that like that. That's all right. That's your business model. It's totally fine.
We also have people who have 9-day weeks.
Even 12 day
Yeah, even 12.
even 12-day weeks. Yeah, so that's the thing. Keep the communication up with your dispatcher, but let him do his job. Imagine, put it in a mirror. Put it in a mirror. I'm your dispatcher. I'm gonna call you every 30 minutes to tell you how to drive your truck. Would you like that? Let me know, chat. Would you like your dispatcher to call you and tell you how to drive your truck every 30 minutes? I'm actually curious.
No, I'm pretty
Probably
sure.
know the answer.
Probably we all know the answer to that. No, absolutely not. So yeah, no,
Absolutely
100%, 100%, man, 100%. And it's always mind blowing because we see that we go through. Alex knows, especially because he's doing this part all day long. You're talking to people, you're looking over their numbers, you're going through everything, you're dissecting, the issues that they might be seeing, contrasting, comparing this, that. Then they go through the process of setting up with us. It's a fairly straightforward packet. It's one of the best ones in the industry, I would say. It practically fills itself out. But they go through that. Then you have to go dig up your files, your documents. You attach all these things. Then we have a secondary document for all your carrier details, your equipment. So there is a bit of a process, like maybe a half an hour, but you're still having to do all this stuff. And then to go through all this, to check us against other companies, to make sure that we're the right choice as well. We understand that's completely normal. That's all part of the shopping around process. But then after all of that, to not let your dispatcher do their job,
Yeah, but not even try.
not even allow them to even give a shot, then the guys are calling me.
Recently, 2 or 3 customers that signed up with us, they were doing terrible. I'm gonna just give one example with no names or anything.
Yeah, please don't mention names.
He was doing as a drive in 4,200 a week average with 175 a mile.
Yeah.
If you tell me that's good, all right. It's
Well,
definitely not.
we got guys with very low operating costs, so they can make money under that. But what we're talking about here is just normal, general people in today's world that don't necessarily have a
but
truck from
even if you
1984.
make profits. If you can make more,
Why
if
not?
you can make more profits, why would you not?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly
Like,
it.
let's say, okay, you book yourself, you're making 5,000 a week average. Okay, you're making 5,000 a week average with $2 a mile. If you ran, for example, with us, a normal driver that is doing properly exactly what I said, like gives his dispatcher free hand and everything, averages somewhere around $6,000. Basically, $6,000 per 0.07 That's 420. It's 5,000. Sorry, 6,000 minus 6,000
Times 0.7.
minus 420. That's $5,580. So basically, it's $580 every week extra in your pocket, and you don't have to do anything.
Yep. That's $2,400 almost a month.
Yeah, you're making $2,400 a month more.
That's after
and
paying
you
us.
work less.
Mm-hmm. And you paid your dispatch costs.
Yeah, that's dispatch cost paid.
Yep. That's exactly it. Absolutely.
So why would you not?
Yeah. I mean, why bother? I mean, why bother to going through a process of getting set up and then going through arguments, make sure that we have an understanding of how you want to be ran, getting agreement that is doable, that we're willing to do that, talking to Alex, talking with me, talking with management, talking with dispatchers, and then just cutting it off and not letting them do their job. There's no point.
Yeah.
We've had problems.
Do like my other friend that I keep talking with him every 2 or 3 months because he calls back. And he just to tell me that he's not interested to work with a dispatcher that went from 8 trucks to 1.
Mm-hmm.
You can also do that, but I don't think it's going to be good for you.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think it's going to be very good for you. We've had customers. We've had a customer years ago who he went when we started with us with 4 trucks. When he closed down, he had 19, and he went out of business because of poor money management. And guess what? The number one reason that truckers themselves have actually said themselves the reason why they failed in trucking was because of poor money management. So guys, if you could just get that figured out, if you can understand the difference of business expenses and these are personal expenses and be very strict with them, if you can understand that you don't know everything about the industry, but we're willing to help and there are other very helpful people, if you're willing to be coachable and teachable and be able to ask questions and talk to your dispatcher, don't just take loads from them, talk to them, make friends with them. This is the guy you're talking with and working with on a daily basis. Ask them. They would love to hear from you guys, for you guys to show some interest and say, hey, listen, so why do you recommend that I take this load? This is below my operating costs. This is a good number of miles. Is it really that worthwhile over there? And then let them give you some examples. Let them talk to you. Let them discuss these things so that it will make sense for you. So when you do arrive there, you're not, or when you're driving there, you're not, white knuckling thinking, oh goodness, I just put all my effort and everything into this, all my belief, everything. He better do this. This better work out. They know what they're doing. And if you want to feel at rest, at ease, talk to them, communicate, openly communicate with them. I think that goes a long way, doesn't it?
Yeah. And to end it on a very, very good note on this, I'll mention 2 last things to end up the subject. Have patience when your dispatcher is booking your load. It might not take 30 minutes. It might not take 15 minutes because to find that gem through all that crap takes a bit. It's not an easy job. That's why you need help, because it's not an easy job and it requires time that you as a driver do not have it physically, because you can be the best of the best. You can be 40 years into the industry. You still have 24 hours.
That's right.
In the day. We have the same amount of hours per day.
That's right.
It's not like if you work for 40 years, you get an extra of 27 hours a day. It doesn't work like that.
This is your time.
And ended up on something that I've seen it way too often to even realize why it's happening is stop looking at loads per individual loads. You're not working at Walmart.
Yeah.
You're not paid per week or per day or per hour. If you want to see how much your dispatcher ever actually made you, look at least for the last 2 weeks.
Minimum. Absolutely.
At
and
least.
With today's market fluctuation, sometimes it's not even a fair comparison, because sometimes we have customers that come in, the market was better, then we get you to actually above market rates, but those are below than what you might have been getting a week before. And then you start to compare that information, and it doesn't always come out quite equally. Looks like we have an Ovi. My name is Rocky. I live in Florida and lease to JB Hunt. Fantastic. I mean, it's a very good company, a bit pricey, but you do get some benefits there. But you're also in a captive market, so just do keep that in mind. If it's working for you, fantastic. We never badmouth any company that's out there, but as long as they're taking care of you, as long as you're making good money, but if not, like you said, you're looking for change, I would highly recommend talking to Kevin. He's a straight shooter. He'll tell you up front. He's very familiar with other companies and other offers. And his name is Kevin. I would get in touch with him on Monday. He's around. You just simply reach him by calling 801-448-6363. Then you hit option 1 and you hit option 2. That'll go straight to Kevin. He'll pick up the phone. You guys can have a chat. He can send you some driver statements, things like that. And, and possibly this is the change you've been looking for. Like I said, not a bad company, but there are better options out there. Depending on the type of driver, equipment, and what your situation is, you may be able to upgrade your lifestyle. So for sure.
Yeah, and also what you're looking for.
Yeah,
If
absolutely.
he's looking for a change, definitely probably is not having the best time there.
Yeah, perfect timing. On the screen, you guys will see aftdispatch.com/go. It's right there with the phone number. Just hit extension 1. You'll get in touch with the right guy. So we'd love to speak with you, OV. I think this would be awesome. Kevin is a very good guy. Alex is very helpful to all the carriers. And for the first time, we're broken the 2-hour limit on YouTube. I know it tends to create problems once
We
you get
had some
past
very,
2 hours.
very good topics that
Very good calls,
cannot
very
be
good
limited.
topics. Thank you guys very much. I'm going to ask you guys for the last time, please smash the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. I haven't seen any notifications today from any new subscribers. It would be awesome to do that. If you guys ever have any questions for Alex and I, if you ever have any anything that you need to clarify or need some examples or some loads to look at, you want to review some of the stuff you're doing, compare apples to apples, maybe the leasing program with Kevin, run, driver settlement reports and things like that. We are completely transparent. We are here. And if you're doing better, we're going to tell you that. If there's room for improvement or if you could do better with us, we will tell you that. At the end of the day, Kevin doesn't chase after people. He'll make the calls. He'll leave the voicemails. He'll send you some text messages. He'll try to prod and make sure that you guys don't rest on your laurels. But at the end of the day, we don't chase after people to convince them that this is good for them. You guys aren't kids. We're not kids either. And with that said, I think unless Alex has something to add, I wanted to play some music for the folks and kind of switch over to camera and see you guys next week.
Summarize it up, basically, further questions, or if you want to see that you could do better or not, give me a call. I'll probably be the more straightforward guy you can talk to about it. To be honest, like, maybe I'm not the best salesman, but at least I'm honest.
That goes a long way, my friend. That goes a very long way.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
but at least I'm honest. I'm gonna be straightforward. There are people that called in, a lot of people that called in, and they decided to not work together properly because it was not a good match for them.
Sure.
Or for us. It happened even on the other side, of course. But yeah, give me a call, 801-448-6363. Hit extension 3, and you're reach straight to either Vitaly or me, and we'll definitely gotta figure it out.
Absolutely. Thank you guys all for sticking around. Alex, thank you so much for joining. You definitely saved me today. Really good topics. I really appreciate that. We'll probably revisit that in the following weeks. We'll have
there's a lot more to talk about it.
Yeah, and I think
I tried to keep it a little bit shorter.
Yeah, I think like this week and or possibly the week after, Peter's going to be on with us as well. It'll be really cool to have you on there with Peter and everybody. Peter's going to come. He's got a few things he wanted to talk about. He's one of our oldest dispatchers, and this will be really, really cool to hear from the guy. I'm super excited about that, and we'll definitely prepare a good show for you guys. For now, I'm going to kind of close up shop today. I'll play some music if you guys want to stick around. It's a little bit different, a little lo-fi jam for you guys, and I hope you have the wonderful rest of your weekend. Hope you guys are doing really, really well. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat. I'll review that. For those of you guys watching the video in the replay, leave your comments, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell, share if you could. We really appreciate you guys. And again, thank you for stopping by. Really appreciate it, and catch you on the flip side. Take care. Thanks, Alex, for your help, man. Bye-bye.
Peace out.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thanks, Elisa. I really appreciate that. Ovi, thank you as well. Really appreciate it. If you have any questions, give us a call, man. Thanks again, Elisa. Thank you for everyone. Appreciate you guys. Thank you, MS.